Hi, I'm Paul Arthur. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is butting heads with the federal government, launching a court challenge of the constitutionality of net zero electricity regulations. Leaders of the Alberta separation movement say they already have enough petition signature pledges to trigger a referendum. And Lethbridge police charge 3 people for alleged assault and kidnapping. Thanks for joining us. Alberta Premier Danielle Smith has announced her government is launching a legal challenge to federal clean electricity regulations, alleging that they unconstitutionally stray into the province's jurisdiction.
And today, we are taking another step to protect Albertans' livelihoods by challenging the constitutionality of the net zero electricity regulations in the Court of Appeal of Alberta, and we look forward to making our case. Alberta will no longer tolerate having our livelihoods threatened, our industries targeted, and our resources landlocked by Ottawa. We will not accept their reckless and dangerous policies that will harm our economy, stifle our energy industry, jeopardize the reliability of our electricity grid, and raise electricity prices for Albertans. Prime Minister Mark Carney must immediately commence working with our government to reset the relationship between Ottawa and Alberta with meaningful action rather than hollow rhetoric. We will not sit by quietly. Albertans expect to be treated with fairness and respect, just like any other province in this country. Our government will not blindly accept unconstitutional net zero regulations that put Albertans in harm's way. We will always stand up and fight for our province, and we will not let Albertans freeze in the dark.
Smith says the regulations pose a threat to Albertans' lives and livelihoods, with the risk of regular blackouts occurring in the summer and winter months. Alberta currently relies on natural gas for 75% of its electricity generation. Talk of Alberta separatism is heating up in light of Monday's federal election results. While Premier Smith has said her government won't advance a referendum on separation, she admits that citizens might. The NDP says the introduction of Bill 54, which changes some of the rules around elections and referendums, will absolutely open the door to further talk of secession. The changes lower the number of required petition signatures from 600,000 to about 177,000, and the time period expands to 120 days from 90. Lawyer Jeff Rath is with the Alberta Prosperity Project, a group organizing and currently working on gathering signatures for such a referendum. He is confident that it will happen.
You know, we're confident we could do it in 30 days, if not 90 days under the old, under the pre-existing statute, right? I mean, that's how overwhelming the support for independence is in Alberta right now. So, one of the things that we're looking at is our goal for this month is to actually get 600,000 pledges for signatures. And we're considering triggering, the referendum procedure under the old act and getting the signatures together in the 90-day period so that we can then have the bureaucrats and, Elections Alberta have the lead time that they need to then organize the referendum to have the referendum in this calendar year.
2 Alberta Indigenous chiefs are accusing Premier Smith of attempting to manufacture a national unity crisis and are calling on her to stop stoking the fires of separatism. In a letter, Chief Sheldon Sunshine of Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation and Mikisew Cree Nation Chief Billy Joe Tuccaro say Smith is enabling a referendum on separation in what they call a, quote, fanatical cell of individuals at a time Canadians need to unite. The Assembly of First Nations is joining calls for Hudson's Bay to immediately return its ceremonial items and put a halt on the sale of artifacts. National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepinak says some items may represent vital and genuine aspects of cultural heritage and identity. The latest call to return these items to the Indigenous communities comes after an Ontario judge gave the Bay permission to move forward with an auction of the over 44,000 artifacts and art pieces. And there are also reports that Canadian Tire is making a bid for Hudson's Bay. 2 sources tell the Canadian press the household goods chain has made a bid for some of Canada's oldest retailers' intellectual property. The company has a wealth of intellectual property, including rights to its famed Stripes brand, discount chain Zellers, housewares brand Gluckstein, apparel line Hudson North, and its distinctly home bed and bath products. When asked whether the company is making a bid, Canadian Tire did not provide a comment. Residents of the Alberta mountain town of Canmore are divided over a new tax on vacant homes. The tax will apply to homeowners who leave their residences empty for more than half the year, as part of the town's effort to reverse an affordability crisis. A court ruled this week that Canmore is within its rights to move forward with the tax next year, which will divide residences into subclasses so it can tax mostly vacant homes at higher rates. Some part-time owners argue the move unfairly punishes faithful property taxpayers, but others say the growing number of weekenders has hollowed out Canmore's community feel. The Supreme Court of Canada is set to look at whether a challenge of ethics ruling in Justin Trudeau's involvement in a decision about We Charity can proceed. The group Democracy Watch applied for a judicial review of Federal Ethics Commissioner Mario Dionne's decision in 2021. Dionne had concluded Trudeau did not breach the Conflict of Interest Act when he participated in a decision about We Charity, which operated in Canada and abroad. Federal lawyers argued the application should be tossed out, in part because the Conflict of Interest Act bars judicial reviews concerning questions of fact and law. Canada's top court will hear the appeal of a Quebec ruling that invalidated random police stops. The case is about whether it's constitutional for police to make a random traffic stop without reasonable suspicion the driver has committed an offense. Canada's highest court has granted the Quebec government leave to appeal a lower court decision that said random stops lead to racial profiling. The SCOC will in part be asked to weigh in on whether stopping drivers with no apparent reason violates the Charter. Also today, the Supreme Court decided it will not hear Ontario's appeal in a youth-led climate case. The decision means the challenge will instead be revived in an Ontario court. Legal experts say the case brought on by 7 young people could clarify whether governments in Canada have any constitutional obligation to protect Canadians from climate change. The group is asking for a court to order that the Ontario government come up with a science-based target in line with Canada's international climate commitments. Canadian travelers are being advised to exercise a high degree of caution because of the threat of terrorism in Spain and France. The government says on a 1 to 5 scale, the current terrorism threat level in Spain is 4. The threat level in France is currently at 3, which is the highest on that country's national alert system. The government said there is a threat of terrorism in Europe, with attacks having occurred in several cities. It says further attacks in Spain cannot be ruled out, and travelers should check French media and online for changes to the threat level in France. The head of the BC division of the Canadian Mental Health Association says Canada hasn't done the work it needs to do to prevent tragedies like the Vancouver Festival attack on Saturday that killed 11 people. Jonathan Morris says any review should investigate every factor that was involved, noting it's important to let the legal process unfold to fully understand what role mental illness played in order to prevent the risk of stigmatization. Morris says the way the tragedy is discussed affects how those with mental illness see themselves and how others see them, and it could even stop people from getting help. The U.S. and Ukraine have signed an agreement that will give the U.S. access to Ukraine's vast critical mineral resources. And while U.S. President Trump is heralding this reconstruction and investment deal as a way of ending the war with Russia, residents in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv are skeptical.
Я думаю, що така угода, з одного боку, вона потрібна Україні, бо треба буде відновлюватися після війни. З другого боку, я ж не знаю, які там умови прописані, то цілком може бути, що вони зовсім невигідні для України. Ну, але, мабуть, якщо її підписали, то наші фахівці все ж таки якось порівняли плюси і мінуси. Я сподіваюся, що це буде на користь.
З одного боку, якщо прочитаєш одні джерела, то здається, що в принципі це не так погано. І це якась певна безпека, якась гарантія безпеки нас. З іншого боку, треба знову ж таки дивитись, що там за ті умови. Певне, що ми їх не знаємо і не факт, що ми колись дізнаємось повний цей текст документу. Якщо будемо бачити, зможемо дійсно якісь дати коментарі, щось розуміти головне.
Я жахливо до цього всього ставлюся. Я жахливо ставлюся до того, що наші людські ресурси на війні просто так м'ясо, за те, що наша земля це просто розмінна монета в цьому світі, за те, що ми не маємо свого захисту, а ми полагаємося на когось. Ну, тобто, моє бачення те, що замість того, щоб укріплювати себе, ми далі починаємо все це роздавати, і мені боляче за нашу землю і за наших людей.
Also today, Trump is dealing with the first cabinet shakeup of his second term in office. Trump has named Secretary of State Marco Rubio as acting national security advisor to replace Mike Waltz, whom he is nominating for United Nations ambassador. Trump announced the move shortly after news broke that Waltz and his deputy, Alex Wong, were departing the administration just weeks after it was revealed that Waltz added a journalist to a Signal chat being used to discuss military plans. Trump said Rubio will continue to serve as Secretary of State. The annual National Day of Prayer was held at the White House today. The event was featured on our partner station Merit TV Canada and Dr. Phil's Merit TV in the United States.
Mr. President, I can't tell you, first off, how proud I am to see religion coming back to the White House. God bless you. God bless you for doing this. And let me tell you, it's not a popular thing to do in America right now. And Speaker Johnson is here, and you know he's a man of religion. But you know, I've sat with President Trump with no cameras around, nobody listening, nobody watching. And I'm telling you, this is a man of deep faith, a man of deep conviction. And this is a man that wants this country to have a heart and have religion. And God bless America for giving us President Donald Trump. And when nobody's listening and nobody's looking, this man cares about every single person in America, independent of race, color, creed, whatever. And it comes from the heart with him. And I am proud to call him my president. And God bless you, Mr. President.
Today, Donald Trump signed an executive order creating a Religious Liberty Commission, of which Dr. Phil is a member. In local news, Lethbridge police have charged 3 people with kidnapping and assault after a 39-year-old man was unlawfully confined in a residence in a dispute between known parties over money. Police responded to a report on an assault on April 21st that took place at a Southside home. The victim suffered a serious head injury and also had his truck stolen in the process. He was then taken to a Westside home and held for several hours before he was able to escape. The accused, Crystalline Nicole Healy, Scott Cameron Slateholm, and Stephen Bruce Issel, are all charged with kidnapping, unlawful confinement, robbery, and assault with a weapon. Healy is additionally charged with extortion. The stolen vehicle, a maroon 1993 GMC Sierra with Alberta plate CVW 8105, remains outstanding, and police are asking for public assistance in locating it. You can call police at 403-328-4444 if you've seen the truck. The annual Jane's Walk Festival is coming up this weekend. The event takes place in cities around the world, and in Lethbridge this Friday through Sunday, the community is invited to participate in walks in various parts of the city that explore the history that shapes our everyday urban experience. Festival organizer Anastasia Blomgren explains the walks will cover a variety of topics and spaces, including public art, parks, nature, historic sites, and neighborhoods. Blomgren says the event encourages residents to discover unseen, under the radar, and unique areas of their city.
Just to have people join the different walks that are interesting to them, get to know people in their neighborhoods, and primarily to have conversations so that people can learn about things and be exposed to new ideas and have those community conversations. We'll have some in Henderson Lake Park, Sunridge Park, downtown Lethbridge on 13th Street North, and a few other places across the city. So it's really important to show different aspects of our community and engage different people and different perspectives through our project. There's lots of different new things. For example, one of the walks is about new public murals in the city. So it's highlighting all of the new and recent murals that have been acquired to kind of emphasize what has been changing in the community.
The event was created in 2007 in Toronto by friends of urban thinker Jane Jacobs, and Lethbridge has participated in the festival since 2011. The Lethbridge Hurricane season came to an end on Wednesday after losing Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Final on home ice against the Medicine Hat Tigers. The Tigers are in the midst of an historic run, making the finals for the first time since 2007 and dropping just one game in the entire playoffs so far on their path to make it there. BCN's Landon Hickok has more on that story.
The Medicine Hat Tigers held the Lethbridge Hurricanes back from a potential comeback to win Game 4 with a score of 5-3 and advance to the Western Hockey League Finals.
That is your Forum Daily West report. I'm Paul Arthur. Thanks so much for watching.